Hey everyone, this is Vadu, and today I'm going to be making a guide for Chaos Gloom. I'm going to be talking about how I do it, the best ways to survive, kind of what to look for as far as like dishing out DPS, so on and so forth. This boss, I probably had more questions about this boss other than Black Mage, um, and understandably so. I mean, this is definitely a tough boss. Chaos Gloom gives a lot of different people issues. Fortunately for Shades, I would say Shades is probably a top 3 class to go against Chaos Gloom, right up there along with Kana and Ho Young. Shade Toolkit is just very well equipped to deal with a lot of what this boss throws out at you. The only thing that Shade doesn't have in this boss, that Ho Young and Kana would probably be ahead, is like some sort of vertical mobility. But I mean that's not that huge of an issue. I mean as long as you have rope lift equipped and as long as you dodge everything properly, you shouldn't have that much of an issue. So before we get into it, let's just talk about a few of the things that's going to keep you alive. You definitely want to go ahead and have your Hero's Wheel equipped and your Wheel of Erda. If you haven't been familiar using these two skills, you're definitely going to get familiar using them in Chaos Gloom. So go ahead and have them equipped, have them, what I like to do as far as my keybind layout, I like to have both of these like toward the center of the screen, that way I can see them easier. And coincidentally right next to both of those I also have Spirit Ward here. So I'm constantly looking at these three skills along with uh, Freud's Wisdom and with Deathmark. All 5 of those skills mentioned, Hero's Will, Will of Erda, Spirit Ward, Freud's Wisdom, and Deathmark, those are going to be your primary things that's going to keep you alive throughout the boss. In addition to that, you will rely on Spirit Incarnation at times. This is an 8-second iframe with a 120-second cooldown. So with these 6 skills together, you shouldn't have that big of an issue at all surviving. So as I'm prepping for the boss, Freud's users, a lot of people, they will like to start stacking Freud's about 10 to 15 seconds after they enter the boss. That way it lines up, your invincibility lines up well with your first darkness. But what I like to do, I actually like to use the invincibility from Freud's Wisdom for the very first burst of the boss. So what I do whenever I'm prepping on the outside, I typically try to enter whenever I'm on my 3rd stack with about 8 to 9 seconds left. In addition to that, I'll go ahead and cast Spirit Ward because Spirit Ward's cooldown is only 48 seconds. So that way, in case I do get hit with anything, I have Spirit Ward up as I'm prepping. So this isn't going to be an exact guide about Chaos Gloom itself. This is more specifically just for Shades. So I'm not going to go into like, every little detail or mechanic of the boss. I expect people that's watching this guide to already have some understanding of the boss, but they're just struggling with survivability. So while you're waiting for this, you're primarily just waiting until the tentacles come down for the first time, so you're primarily just dodging everything while keeping an eye on your void stacking. About 10 seconds out, I'll go ahead and start to buff up some of my burst. In addition to that, I'm going to go ahead and recast Spirit Ward right here. I'm also going to jump up and Deathmark the boss. That way, as I'm flying up with Rope Lift, I'm protected with both Spirit Ward, and I also am recovering my HP with Deathmark until I hit my last stack of voids right here. So right here, I'm fully free to burst. I don't have to worry about anything at all. Here, I did forget to click Maple Goddess. I forgot to press Maple Warrior, but this is just for demonstration purposes. So I think one of the big advantages for stacking Freud's first is because you're now off sync. Your darkness meter is off sync with the rest of your party. So typically in a regular party, the majority of your party is going to be going into darkness at the same time. So the cleanses when you get out of darkness isn't as valuable as if you're off sync. So right now I'm constantly paying attention to my darkness gauge. I know the tentacles are about to come down soon, so right here you see me purposely getting hit with meteors that's coming down. That way it purposely fills my darkness gauge up. That way I go into darkness right as the tentacles come down. This is the #1 most important thing about surviving a Chaos Gloom, is manipulating your darkness gauge. You never want to go into darkness when the tentacles are up. If you're down on the ground by yourself in darkness, that's going to put you at a severe disadvantage. So as I'm in darkness, primarily what I'm doing is I'm paying attention to the little claws that's on the floor, and you do not want to be standing over top of those. So I'll find an opening um, where I'm free of those, and I'll just try to avoid those primarily. So again, here I'm looking at my darkness gauge. I know the tentacles are going to be coming down soon, so I want to be going into darkness right as the tentacles come down. So I'm purposely getting hit. This is about the perfect spot you want to be at if you know the tentacles are going to be coming down. Here we are. And I should be going into darkness right as the tentacles come down. And again, you see the claws down at the bottom, so I avoided it there. I moved to the left side of the eye. So now I'm free to DPS here. I'm also casting Spirit Ward and Death Mark right as the darkness begins to not only protect me from being stunned, but to also heal my HP. I go down to the bottom and I press my Will of Urda to protect me from anything that's going to happen when I fall down. Going into darkness again, I'm looking at my darkness meter. I'm going to manipulate it, so I'm going into darkness as the tentacles come down. And again, I'm getting away from the claws at the bottom, so I'm lower to the right, that way I'm well away from them. There you just saw me use Hero's Will, just as an extra precaution. And here you're going to see me 3 DPS, where I'm dodging the meteors, and I'm also Spirit Falling him at the same time. And the last darkness I'm going to show, you pretty much get the gist of it. Pretty much every single darkness is going to be the same. Just pay very close attention to your darkness meter. Have your Spirit Ward up, have your Death Mark up. Use that the moment that you go up on the tentacles. And here you can see that you can DPS quite well even if you're in darkness, if you're playing everything right. Again, Shade does not have a lot of issues in this boss. Pretty much just got off a full burst in darkness without too much trouble. And that pretty much sums up the boss. Again, I know this wasn't a very in-depth guide about the mechanics of the boss or anything like that. I expect you to know that already. I will post some guides in the description of this video. I didn't have to use Spirit Incarnation at all during this tutorial, but at the end of the darkness, if you have to drop down and you have to use Spirit Incarnation, feel free to do so. But it's just shown in this video. If you play your cards right, you don't even have to. If you have any further questions about this, feel free to post it in the comments below, or feel free to join the Shade Discord, and I'll be happy to help you there. I hope this was helpful. Thank you, and have a good day.